the Campaign for Liberty has been tremendous in calling for an audit on the Fed, which is great, and that is how I first made the acquaintance. I called Dr. Paul, and I think he was a little surprised to think that I was calling him, but I was just impressed with his talking points on that subject and his willingness to get out there and really keep beating that drum, so I thank him for that. Dr. Paul was born in Pennsylvania. He married his high school sweetheart, Carol. They have 5 kids and 18 grandkids, so he had some other interests other than politics along the way. He has delivered over 4,000 babies as an OB/GYN, written a lot of books. And, you know, people get into politics for many reasons, but primarily for self-promotion. Dr. Paul has been involved in politics because he has something very important and meaningful to say, and he has devoted himself to spreading that message, which is very rare. His philosophies are consistent. They do not waver based on political polls or public opinion. His principles are based in fact and logic, which is routed and rooted in the very foundation of America. We're all very lucky to have a voice like his out there, and we need to have more out there that are like his. It is my great honor tonight to present to you Dr. Ron Paul.
This country is in a revolution. They're sick and tired of what they're getting, and I happen to be lucky enough to be part of it.
What if our foreign policy of the past century is deeply flawed and has not served our national security interests? What if we wake up one day and realize that the terrorist threat is a predictable consequence of our meddling in the affairs of others and has nothing to do with us being free and prosperous? What if war and preparation for war is a racket serving the special interests? What if the American people learn the truth?
We have allowed our nation to be overtaxed and overregulated and overrun by bureaucrats. The founders would be ashamed of us for what we're putting up with.
If you think our government should police the world and spend hundreds of billions of dollars on a foreign policy that we cannot manage, I believe that when we overdo our military aggressiveness, what it does, it actually weakens our national defense. I mean, we stood up to the Soviets. They had 40,000 nuclear weapons.
Just come home. We just marched in. We just come home. We can achieve much more in needless, unconstitutional, undeclared wars.
The principle, the moral principle, is that of defending liberty and minimizing the scope of government.
I think that's critical. They have to have a document, a national special card. Absolutely. A tamper-proof card, a database, name, date, birth date, biographic information.
Dr. Paul, I am absolutely opposed to a national ID card. This is a total contradiction of what a free society is all about. The purpose of government is to protect the secrecy and the privacy of all individuals, not the secrecy of government. We don't need a national ID card.
Would you work to phase out the IRS?
Immediately.
The CFR exists, the Trilateral Commission exists, and it's a, quote, conspiracy of ideas. This is an ideological battle. Some people believe in globalism, others of us believe in national sovereignty. And there is a move on toward a North American Union, just like early on there was a move on for a European Union.
Inflation tax, it's a tax that nobody talks about. We live way beyond our means with a foreign policy we can't afford and an entitlement system that we have encouraged. We print money for it, the value of the money goes down, and poor people pay higher prices. That is a tax.
We've lost over 5,000 Americans over there in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and plus the civilians killed. How many more do you want to lose? How long are we going to be there? How long? What do we have to pay to save face? So what we must do is very simply the restoration of law, restoration of the principles of the Founding Fathers, restore the revolution that once started. Freedom is not something new and strange, and neither is it ancient. It's recent. Fortunately, the number of those who care are growing exponentially.
Paul won with 31%, beating out frontrunners like former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney, who received 22%.
And President Obama has 42% of voter support, and Representative Ron Paul, 41%. Wow!
This video is in support of Ron Paul. I'm making it because lately I've found the need to let the people I care about know what I know, so that maybe we can be on the same page about some very important things happening in the world now. I'm doing this because I want to live in a society where Ron Paul is president, a country where people will be free, and not only be free but feel free. A society that encourages creativity and job growth and inspires people to take care of themselves and others and to find their own path and fulfill their own unique destiny, all while being grateful and aware that it is only in a free society that this is possible. I'm doing this because it made me scared and angry to find out what was really happening, but relieved when I found out that there was at least one man with the power and dedication, intelligence to make real change, and deserved my full support. These other people running against Ron Paul will not make changes to the Fed, and thus will not change anything, and are a serious part of the problem. Ron Paul will change everything, and is the only one who will make the changes necessary to keep this country from going over to a world government, a dictatorship that has been a long time in the making. That sounds like a stretch, I understand, but there's a feeling. I feel like it's spreading to everybody else now. You just feel like it's going in that direction. And you can see how the choices being made and the actions being done are just headed in a direction that's not good for the U.S. Could be pretty good for somebody that was possibly looking towards a one-world government dictatorship where the banks are in charge. And Ron Paul has more support than you think. In fact, he has more support than any candidate. But the media will not let you know that, and they are taking down every poll he's winning in, and they'll leave out straw polls that he wins or say they were rigged or unimportant. Some of the polling agencies intentionally call only landlines, or they will call people that are just not knowledgeable of what's actually going on. They more are apt to listen to Fox News and CNN and MSNBC instead of reading anything. But they're doing this because the media is owned and told what to do and say by the same people who own the president and tell him what to do and say. And by now I know you know this, but I will spell it out for you even clearer. And within 1 hour, you will know everything there is to know about the Fed and Ron Paul. And then you can go about your business, at least knowing what is going on and making informed decisions regarding your future. You've heard at least a little bit about the hype lately, and this is what it all boils down to. Hopefully this will act as a guide for myself and you, and it'll remind us of what's going on and the importance that it is stopped. It'll remind us that the Constitution is just as important as it ever was, and that it will always be important, and that people will always want to control and to enslave, and that the Constitution is there to protect us from these people. So we must not only respect it, but protect it also. There's a power out there that wants to be in control. This group wants a global currency in government. And yeah, that's a conspiracy theory, because there's a few people conspiring against people in secret. And that is what a conspiracy theory is. And I feel like they've gotten a bad rap, and it's by no mistake. And it's actually a conspiracy in itself. From what people think of conspiracies, they think, oh, JFK, this. All these little conspiracies sort of are under this big umbrella conspiracy. So when you think of conspiracy, this is what you want to know about. Anyway, here's what George Carlin and Bill Hicks have to say about conspiracy theories and the power we allow to control us.
I don't really, honestly, deep down believe in political action. I think the system contracts and expands as it wants to. It accommodates these changes. I think the civil rights movement was an accommodation on the part of those who own the country. I think they see where their self-interest lies. They see a certain amount of freedom seems good, an illusion of liberty. Give these people a voting day every year so that they'll have the illusion of meaningless choice. Meaningless choice, that we go like slaves and say, "Oh, I voted." The limits of debate in this country are established before the debate even begins, and everyone else is marginalized. They're made to seem either to be communists or some sort of disloyal person, a kook, there's a word, and now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute, that powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
We have figured it out. Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again. Here's American Gladiators. Watch this. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Here's American Gladiators. Here is 56 channels of it. Watch these pituitary retards bang their fucking skulls together and congratulate you on living in the land of freedom. Here you go, America. You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you.
Oh, good. Honey, I heard on the news that they figured out that the gun, what happened is that there is an echo, and that Kennedy was asking Jackie what it was, and that's why his head flew up. Honey, what time's Gladiators on? Are we missing it? Woo, I'm so glad we're free, honey.
Bullshit is the glue that binds us as a nation. Where would we be without our safe, familiar American bullshit? Land of the free, home of the brave, the American dream. All men are equal, justice is blind, the press is free, your vote counts. Business is honest, the good guys win, the police are on your side, God is watching you, your standard of living will never decline, and everything is going to be just fine. The official national bullshit story. I call it the American okey doke. Every one of those items is provably untrue at one level or another, but we believe them because they're pounded into our heads from the time we're children. That's what they do with that kind of thing. Pounded into the heads of kids because they know the children are much too young to be able to muster an intellectual defense against a sophisticated idea like that. And they know that up to a certain age, children believe everything their parents tell them. And as a result, they never learn to question things. Nobody questions things in this country anymore. Nobody questions anything. Everybody's too fat and happy. Everybody's got a cell phone that'll make pancakes and rub their balls now, you know? Way too fucking prosperous for our own good. Way too fucking prosperous. Americans have been bought off and silenced by toys and gizmos, and no one learns to question things.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride. And we kill those people. Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up! Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account, and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride. And we can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace. Thank you very much. You've been great. I hope you enjoyed it.
Monday.